So you've done the hard part. You've dieted, you've exercised, and you've been consistent with your GLP-1 injections, and you're finally at your goal weight. But now what? Where do you go from here? In this video, I'm going to talk about how to find your ideal maintenance dose, whether it's staying on your current dose, reducing the dose, or coming off of the medication completely. I'm also going to talk about what the clinical trials show regarding stopping a GLP-1 agonist completely, and I'm also going to go over my current maintenance dose and regimen. So let's get started. I want to preface this by saying that the information in this video is for people who are using this medication for obesity and weight loss management. This is not intended for people who are on the medication for type 2 diabetes or trying to control their blood sugar with it. If that is the case, I highly recommend speaking to your primary care physician or endocrinologist regarding dose adjustment or how to find the right maintenance dose for you. So like I mentioned earlier, there are three options when it comes to maintenance. You can either stay on your current dose, decrease the dose, or come off of the medication completely. The last of which I highly discourage, and here's why. So when it comes to clinical trials, there isn't much data regarding titrating down on a dose, but there is studies that show that stopping the medication completely has negative effects on your weight. The SURMOUNT-4 trial was a trial that looked at long-term tirzepatide use versus stopping the medication completely. Basically what the trial did was it took participants and gave them tirzepatide for 36 weeks straight. They measured the amount of weight loss, and the data showed that it was about 20% of their starting body weight was lost for most participants. After 36 weeks, they split the participants into either continuing on their current dose of tirzepatide, which was either 10 milligrams or 50, or into a group that only received placebo, so basically no medication whatsoever. What the trial found was that patients who continued on tirzepatide continued to lose weight. Most of them lost about 5 to 6% on average. However, patients who received placebo and were stopped on tirzepatide gained about 14% of their weight back on average. So long term, it does show that coming off of the medication does lead to some weight gain. I know that it's easy for people who are given the medication, like in the clinical trials, to stay on the medication. However, in real life, it's not so black and white. Insurance, for people who don't have insurance coverage for this medication, have to pay out of pocket, it's a financial burden. I mean, these medications are expensive, whether it's getting the name brand or a compounded version. It's still a lot of money. And I know that, at least for a lot of the patients I work with, some of them can't afford it. And I understand where the difficult choice comes between being able to pay your bills versus buying tirzepatide. And it's not so black and white in real life. So, if you do have to stop the medication, which I highly discourage, you need to make sure you follow up with your primary care provider or an endocrinologist if you have one, to just monitor your weight, and hopefully the healthy eating habits that you've developed while on this medication can help you stay off of it. But if you at least have close follow-up with your primary care physician, you can at least keep track of your weight or your A1C or your cholesterol, other factors of metabolic health in case you need to go back on it. Now, when it comes to finding the ideal dose, if you're going to stay on the medication, it gets a little trickier. Let me show you how. So when it comes to finding your ideal dose, if you're going to stay on the medication, there's a few ways to approach it. So like I said earlier, you could stay on your current dose. However, if you reach your goal weight, obviously I don't recommend this, and you should work on titrating down or decreasing your dose. But how do we go about that, right? I've mentioned this before. I mentioned the site before. It's called GLP-1 Plotter. It helps you look at the concentration of tirzepatide or semaglutide in your bloodstream at a given concentration and given dosing schedule. So when it comes to titrating down the medication, there's two options that you have. You can either decrease the concentration. So let's say, for instance, you're at 10 milligrams, you can decrease it down to 7.5 milligrams if you're on the brand name and you're on the pens. If you're on a compounded, you could fine tune it much tighter. So you can even go from 10 milligrams to 9 milligrams. But let's just take the pens, for example, because it's just easier to explain. So you can either decrease the dose of it, or you can extend how frequently you take the medication. So instead of taking it every 7 days, you can either take it every 10 days or every 14 days. The best way to figure out what's best for you is by keeping track of the concentrations and what it does to your body and how you feel on it. This is the part that's going to take some trial and error, so it can be time consuming, but once you kind of fine tune the perfect dose for you, you're going to be on that dose forever, unless something changes and you want to lose weight again, or you might start developing side effects. So how does GLP-1 Plotter work, and how do you find the concentration? So you just go to the website, theglp1plotter.com. I'll link it below. This is how we get started. I like to track it out for a 4-week period because after that I start making adjustments to the dosing. So what I will do is you put in the milligrams of the compound that you're taking, right? Let's say you're starting with 10 milligrams and you want to titrate down. So what I do is I put 10 milligrams because that's the current milligrams that you're on, and I would do tirzepatide, and I would do from week 1 to 4, right? We'll select the dosing, which for us at the moment would be every 7 days, and you plot it. And this is what it tells you. It tells you after 4 weeks, the peak concentration is 14 milligrams of tirzepatide in your blood. So the 14 milligrams is continuing to cause you to lose weight. So we want something that's less than 14 milligrams ultimately. Just write down 14 milligrams because that's what we want to be less than. So how do we adjust that? So what we can do is 10 milligrams, we can do it instead of every 7 days, we can go out to every 10 days. And let's plot that. If we do a shot every 10 days, the maximum concentration after 4 weeks is 11.299. Just to round down, almost 3 milligrams less than your previous dosing that you were using. So how do you feel on this dose? That's what you need to tell yourself. If you extend it out to 10 days, how do you feel on this dose? Are you still losing weight? If so, then this is still too much for you. If you're not still losing weight, how are the side effects? If no side effects and you're not losing weight, I would either stay at this dose, or what you can do is if you really want to be on the lowest dose possible, you can keep playing with this. You can, pull this out to every 14 days, and let's plot that. We did every 4 weeks, so you're only going to get 2 calculations for it. But every 14 days, your highest dose is going to be 9.5 milligrams. So as we prolong the injection duration, the lower the concentration in your blood. And what you need to constantly ask yourself is, 1, are you losing weight? Because your goal is to stay at a stable weight and maintain your weight once you're happy with it. If you're still losing weight, once again, you need to come down on the medication. I wouldn't go further than injecting every 2 weeks. So at that point, I would kind of come down on the dosage. But you need to also ask yourself, are you having any side effects from it? You're on 10 milligrams every 14 days. You're not losing any weight, so that's good, but you might be having some side effects from it. For instance, what I'm talking about is like appetite suppression. So if you're not having that appetite suppression and it's causing you to overeat, long term, if you're not gaining weight, it kind of balances out. But you really need to make sure that you balance out the weight loss as well as the side effect profile. Just for example, let's take decreasing the dose to 7.5 milligrams, right? Let's play with this plotter a little bit. And we'll go back to 7 days. The highest concentration is 10.56. So basically that's even less than the 10 milligrams every 10 days and a little bit more than the 10 milligrams every 14 days. So really try and play with this plotter, find the perfect dose for you. And once again, if your goal is to be on as little medication or lowest concentration as possible, there's nothing wrong with that. And what I would do is I would keep a log of the doses that you're not losing or that you're not gaining weight at. So let's say 10.5 milligrams, you're not losing weight, you're not gaining weight, it's perfect for you, but you want to be on a little bit lower of a dose. Let's try 5 milligrams and see what the peak concentration is at that. If you're not gaining or losing weight at that, perfect. Once you start gaining weight back, that's when I would kind of go back to the previous dose that you were trialing. So that's, personally how I would try, use this plotter to find your ideal dose. So speaking of maintenance dosing, what dosing am I currently using right now? I am actually at 1.5 milligrams every 5 days. Initially, when I was microdosing, I was using 1.5 milligrams every 5 to 7 days, depending on, if I wanted to lose weight, if I needed to keep this appetite down. I noticed that the scale started to budge less, and I definitely got used to the 1.5 milligram dose, but I was able to incorporate some healthy habits to force myself to, go to the gym, watch what I'm eating, and make a more conscious effort of losing weight. I tried it every 7 days, but I felt like the food noise started coming back. It made me start thinking of like fast food again, craving sweets and sugar. If I do feel like I need to lose some more weight, I might go back up. But right now I'm kind of okay, and I'm going to keep monitoring it. My labs look great and I feel good. And ultimately that's what it comes down to. So I'm hoping this video helped you guys get an idea of how to find your maintenance dose once you're at maintenance. Or if you guys aren't at maintenance, don't worry about it. Everyone goes at their own pace, but keep this video saved in case you do get there, and I know you will eventually get there. So good luck on your journey, and I hope that this video helped you. If it did, please leave a comment below, and I'll definitely be making more videos soon.